The dirty, evil, filthy word NFT. Now, if you know what NFT is, it's non-fungible tokens. I like to basically switch the term out to no fucking thanks.
Today, we're going to talk about YouTube's CEO stepping down. That's right, their CEO, Susan, is stepping down now that she's pretty much a billionaire and entering into more or less her golden years. Seems like her time is done at YouTube. And this has led to the promotion of a new guy named Neil Mohan. Now, Neil was best known as YouTube's chief product officer, and he was responsible for such changes as removing dislike count on the video. Now, people keep saying he removed the dislike button. He didn't remove the dislike button. He just removed the ability to publicly see how many dislikes there are on the videos. Now, of course, on this video, it's not a problem because you all smashed the like button. And for that, I thank you deeply. So make sure you go ahead and do it if you enjoyed this video. But there's actually something else that he was known for. That's right. YouTube's new CEO is a friend of the crypto industry. Now, why are people saying this? Effectively, Neil had a blog post in 2022 where he talked about how he believes that NFTs would be a welcome addition to the YouTube platform. Now, regardless of how this was obviously couched in the fact that NFTs were in a huge, rampantly successful moment at the beginning of 2022, and the obvious applications with huge creators being able to monetize in new ways. Look, obviously on this channel, we're very much so a friend of the crypto industry. In fact, we're obsessed. We've dedicated our lives and careers to it. But this, of course, makes it very relevant when some of the top creators on the entire YouTube platform have decided to go on an anti-NFT warpath. You see, I actually had no idea how wildly unpopular NFTs were to this group of people until this new CEO announcement came out. But today, I'm going to be reacting to some of the most viral content that has been published about this new CEO. And of course, most of this is about their hatred for NFTs, which I actually find to be extremely exciting. And I'll tell you exactly why at the end of this video. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not hating on these content creators. I'm actually a big fan of one of them. The other one, I don't know so well, but I have nothing against them. I actually have nothing against anyone who dislikes NFTs or crypto, as I'm a big believer that over time, this technology will work its way into products and services that they'll love. And so that hatred, that negativity that they feel can eventually be jujitsued into a strong support once they see the technology applied in a way that is meaningful to their lives. Again, let's dive in. I'll show you some clips. We'll react to them. It's going to be a fun video.
One of the other big features that really was like throwing everybody under a loop was the idea of NFTs. Now, to understand, he had a weird quote that I'm going to read to you all the way from back in the day. February 2022 back in the day, so about a year ago.
February 2022 was like the peak of that second wave bull run. It was actually the largest volume month. Actually, I think January was the largest volume month, and then February in NFT history. This was when Azuki came out, and essentially you had this just massive explosion of NFT mania going on. All right, check it out. Here we have the OpenSea monthly volume, and at that time, OpenSea was really the only exchange doing business. As you can see, January 2022, and this was the month before the blog post was written, was literally the highest month of NFT trading volume in history. You can see it stands head and shoulders above any other month in history, and February wasn't too bad either, with about $3.5 billion in trading volume. January, almost $5 billion in NFT trading volume.
Remember, you got to understand the context of life, okay? This was NFT mania. Every company was thinking of NFTs at the time, all right?
Exactly. This was NFT mania. At least he points it out there. This was literally the peak of NFT mania so far. As you guys well know, I believe this is very early and we'll see much, much bigger peaks in the future once NFTs are more mainstream in their applications.
There were children's hospitals wondering how to make NFT rarities of the various children they were taking care of.
That's actually kind of funny.
Prevalent NFTs were. Some companies jumped into it. A lot of gaming companies did, ruined a lot of their images, a lot of their products.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? This is the thing that I laugh about so much because gamers are spending all this crazy money in games. Like, for example, I spend tons of money in games and that money's completely locked for infinite supply stuff that just gives you a little bit of dopamine. When you actually like go at the other angle of this argument, the question is really, okay, so where do you want me to store your skins? On a centralized database or on a decentralized database where you can control that information? Where really what I see is NFTs on the platform would be like collectibles. For example, if I'm a major Mr. Beast fan and they do a video where they're fixing blindness or whatever, and there's some kind of collectible that the first X viewers can enjoy or, randomly selected viewers can actually earn just by viewing the content, well, maybe he rewards those people who are holding that with experiences or something like that. The NFT can be a way to deepen the connection with the fans. It doesn't have to be some financial crowdfunding model. And I think that this is actually like a fatal error by the YouTube CEO to describe it this this way, where it should really be described as a way for creators to interface with their fans in a more meaningful way. And obviously, yes, there's other ways to do this, but the NFT is definitely a better way. So I see it as a really cool tool, but I also agree that this is a silly way to pitch it, to be like, hey, turn all your 15-year-old fans into like seed investors. That's actually a terrible pitch, and I agree with this criticism.
Given the actual backlash against NFTs, I would doubt any creator, unless they gave no shits about their fan base, like full mask off, would actually even partake in such a stupid trend. Again, the thing with NFTs, cryptos, a lot of this side tangent is it really doesn't have a lot of purpose because there's not a whole heck of a lot of utility behind it.
Once again, it just comes back, there's no purpose, there's no value, there's nothing. That's actually not true at all. And what I find is pretty funny is that they keep saying that there's not an example of a successful NFT project when we blatantly know that that's not true. And we're just going to see these themes keep getting regurgitated. And the reason why I'm playing this all to you guys is because I want to highlight the mindset right now in 2023 about NFTs as a moment in time, as a bookmark, so we can come back to this, because I believe so strongly that we're going to look back at these moments and realize this idea of owning stuff online and sort of demonizing that because of the first few use cases of it weren't what people wanted or triggered people. It reminds me of when people were making fun of .coms and URLs and internet and email and talking about how why would they ever use this stuff when snail mail works so well. It's one of those things where everyone's so accustomed to being like a peasant on the web 2 farmland that they can't imagine actually having some ownership or some real value flowing through these networks other than just, hey, here's some dopamine for showing up. But here's my favorite part of the video. Watch this, watch at the end. After ranting for 10 minutes about how much he hates NFTs, he goes ahead and says this, which I find to be so funny.
Also, when it comes to NFTs and blockchains, I'm going to bet my left and right nut, okay? I'm willing to bet my testicles that this shit won't be brought back, okay? I could be totally wrong. Hey, 4 or 5 months from now, we could be releasing NFTs with every single video that we make.
So he says he's gonna bet his left and right testicles,
my left and right nut,
that they won't bring NFTs back. And then literally in the same sentence, he says, well, who knows, in 4 to 5 months, we could be releasing NFTs with every single video we make. And this just shows you how the opinions on NFTs are so overly triggering and strong, but so damn loosely held that in the span of one sentence, this guy's literally willing to bet his own manhood on something,
my testicles, that
he very well might actually partake in, not 10 years down the line, not 5 years down the line, not even 1 year down the line. In a few months, he might be making videos with NFTs. This is from his own mouth, which I find very funny, because this is, once again, what you have to understand is when people are like grotesquely triggered by something that they clearly don't know a lot about, that new information can very quickly turn them into a supporter of that point of view. Remember, we're in the strong opinions, loosely held generation. These extremely strong polarizing opinions can flip like this. So what do you think happens when their favorite video game actually has NFTs in it and they see the benefit of being able to actually like sell stuff back when they're done with it and actually own stuff for the first time ever in exchange for their time? It's going to be really fun to watch. And anyway, this isn't the only creator. Let's roll on. Thank you very much for that punctuation at the end of this, because that was, to me, like the summary of how much this hatred for NFTs will flip so quickly into using them as a way to interact with their fans, or more importantly, just understanding that they aren't just like this vicious scam mechanism. In fact, they actually are just this new thing that allows people to own stuff online. And there will be good examples and bad examples.
Thank you. Thank you. Titan has freed us.
Oh, I wouldn't say free. More like under new management.
I mean, look, demonetization is bad, right? No swearing. Like, you should be able to say whatever you want on YouTube. That's what the I think. And then YouTube NFTs, right? It's just like the hatred for NFTs is so real. I just absolutely love this. Now let's get to what I think of as probably the biggest content creator that has weighed in on this. And I want to be very clear. I actually love this content creator. I think he makes just hilarious videos, constantly on point with his seething criticisms of almost everything and anything that comes around. And he especially loves hopping on and criticizing scams. Now, scams are bad. We all hate scams. But the reality is there's a lot of people, myself included, and many others that I know, that work their ass off all day, every day, trying to build really cool stuff in the NFT space and in the crypto space. And so while I agree there's definitely risk with NFTs and there has been bad actors in NFTs, of course, we all know that there's cool stuff happening here. Regardless, I'm going to very respectfully respond to Charlie, aka Moist Critical, aka Penguinzo's criticism of NFTs. He's one of the most outspoken NFT critics. He believes they're just like outright scams and everything about it is just horrible, but he's also a huge gamer. And this is where I find the real dichotomy of beliefs to be at odds with each other. So let's go ahead and jump in and just listen to what he has to say.
I'm going to tell you right now, NFT is one of the yuckiest words in the human language right now. It is an acronym that elicits more pain than CBT, cock and ball torture.
So first of all, he's right. Like NFTs as a brand, I think is a horrible, horrible brand. And sort of the perception of them, I don't think I've seen a topic that is more divisive, has caused more anger, more interest, more excitement, more just general discussion and debate than NFT. Of course, that also leaves things becoming infamous, right? There was like this anger and visceral hatred towards the concept of NFTs that I've never seen on any topic before. And to me, is just like an observer, whenever things are extreme in their ability to bring out emotion, that is something that's worth at least paying attention to. But he's absolutely right. Charlie's absolutely right here. The NFT term is a horrible one, and we should probably figure out how to rebrand this stuff because NFT branding is not good and it needs to be revisited if this stuff is to go mainstream. I would personally be willing to bet that that for sure happens before this stuff really takes off.
It's painful and it's synonymous with scams. And this was during a time where NFT crypto scams were still rampant. It's not like this was before the huge wave of bad actors came in and ruined NFTs. No, NFTs have been a scam for quite some time.
What's really interesting here is if you pull apart this sentence, he says, look, this isn't before the wave of bad actors came in and ruined NFTs. Inferring, if you break that apart, he's pretty much saying that there was actually a version of this that wasn't bad and wasn't scammy. Now, we all know that there are good NFT projects that have delivered to their holders and continue to work hard. And that's really interesting to see, is that he acknowledges in his sentence that there is this version of it that was ruined by bad actors, but then just says NFTs are pure and simple scams. How can that be the case that there's a version of this that was ruined and that in and of themselves, they're flawed? We all know that the technology is not flawed. Of course, in every crypto bull run, altcoins, NFTs, everything, there are people who are opportunistic. But then there's also people who throughout the entire bear market work every single day, despite horrific news, tightening, difficult conditions. People are giving their heart and soul over to this industry. And I know a ton of good actors. That's the thing, is if you really pull this apart, he does acknowledge that there is this other side of it. They just haven't seen it. They just haven't felt it yet. And that's what's so exciting actually about seeing these YouTubers with these reactions. To me, this is the big flip.
Even during this time that Neil tried to push it to YouTube. So there was huge pushback. And I guess somewhere along the pipeline, some team decided to slap this idea down, because we got lucky enough to not have it come to YouTube. But now that NFT Neil's at the helm here, the one at the top of the food chain calling the shots, who's to say he won't dust off this little poop nugget here that's an absolutely atrocious idea? And maybe this time around there's not that rogue vigilante Batman to say, not on my watch, and decline the idea. He is like the leader now of YouTube. And it's a little concerning how hog wild he wanted to go with Web3 coming to the platform.
Now, I do agree, like this has to be done in a tasteful and slow way, right? You can't just have all of a sudden YouTube, a platform that generally appeals to kids, sort of open up the floodgates for wild financial speculation. That's a behavior that really should be for adults. The thing is that there could be a version of this that is really, really cool. And I think that anyone who's got proper knowledge of the space and proper knowledge of that relationship with real big influencers like Charlie could do amazing stuff with this if he wanted to. Clearly, he's not going to be the first one to do it, but that's the thing. I think YouTube could be one of the sickest ways to do this, as the influencers on YouTube have this amazing connection with their fans. I feel like I have an amazing connection with the audience here on EllioTrades. If you guys agree, I appreciate you guys watching these videos. It really means the world to me. We've been working so hard for years and years here, and we still have a lot more work to do. And I truly appreciate you guys all being here for the journey. Now, I also want to point out here that as much as this sounds like a very strongly informed opinion, I'm going to play you a clip of a video that he made yesterday where he reviews the Bored Ape Game game. And what's clear from his review of the Bored Ape game is that he doesn't really know how this game is set up and like what the ecosystem is and how it actually works. As much as it might be a little bit concerning to see some of the most prominent creators lose their mind over NFTs, you have to remember that these people are not really paying that much attention to it. And quite frankly, they don't know that much about it. And that means that there's an opportunity to educate them. But let's listen to his review of the Bored Ape game here so you can understand here what's going on. So there's this video called "This Game Costs Thousands of Dollars to Play."
Ape Game comes out? No way. No way. Is that actually coming out? Oh, wow. First Bored Ape NFT game cost $2,300 for 3 weeks of play.
So this is one thing that I actually saw a lot of people, even within the crypto community, very confused about. There was a game called Dookie Dash created by Bored Ape Yacht Club. Now, Dookie Dash is not a long-term game. The only reason why they released this was to have a new way to have a mint within their ecosystem. They're making an MMORPG, and within that MMORPG, they're having all kinds of things like land, playable characters, and stat-based characters, right? Where instead of just giving out a random stat-based character, like maybe you pull a lucky strong one or not, they wanted to have it be more skill-based. So they tried what's called a skill-based mint. So they created the Dookie Dash Infinite Runner Sewer game in order to let people compete for the higher valued NFTs. They gave the NFTs out to the existing holders, and existing holders were just only willing to trade them for a minimum of this price. So Yuga didn't charge anything to actually have this game go live. They didn't charge their holders, or they weren't charging anyone to play. And the game wasn't actually meant to be a long-term game. This was just a mechanism to mint new NFTs, and one that I personally think they did a really good job with and introduced a very cool way to actually reward people for trying and putting effort into your project, much like gamified whitelists. I think it was interesting. I want to give Yuga their flowers. Once again, I want to point out that there's various levels of misunderstanding here that lead to this hate fest on this game.
Oh, goodness. I don't know if that's accurate or not yet, since I clearly don't know anything about it, aside from the tech demos they used to show, which were absolutely laughable jokes.
Also, once again, the tech demos they showed for Other Deeds or Other Side was literally like 2 months after starting the project. They created this, massively multiplayer online server, and they weren't ever putting out a deadline saying, hey, this is going to be our final product. They just said, hey, come load into this world and, come run around. And I'll be the first one to say it was very early days there, but the server tech that Improbable created is very interesting. Improbable has great tech. That's the people building the Bored Ape MMORPG. I do believe after hiring the COO of Blizzard with their billions of dollars in funding, I believe that they will create a very convincing MMO, but it's going to be a very long time. It's going to be probably 1 to 2 years before we actually start seeing any realistic version of that. And that's super normal. So in the end, one, Dookie Dash wasn't sold for thousands of dollars. That's just the way that people were trading these sewer passes. And two, it wasn't meant to be a long-term game. It's not actually a game for public release. You can think of it as almost just an obstacle course to get a mint pass. This is not meant to be taken seriously as a game.
You have to pay hourly for access to the game or something?
Also completely false. I don't even know where he got that.
Bored Ape Yacht Club's next chapter, what you need to know about sewer passes, the skill-based mint, and more. The skill-based mint, huh? Dookie Dash. Like, you're telling your friends about, like, your investments, like, guys, you guys really need to get the sewer pass from the latest Bored Apes. It allows you for 5 Dookie Dashes in the skill-based mint through the Glorb hole.
I will say that the branding on Bored Ape Yacht Club, it is very, very hilarious to me, but at the same time, you wonder if they do handicap themselves sometimes. The level of shenanigans sometimes is a little over the top. I talk with some other projects in the space, and they see themselves as more, like, family-friendly, and that NFTs will go more mainstream with a more family-friendly approach. Obviously, Imposters is a little bit less flippant and a little bit less, I guess, obscene than like the jokes and the drugs like found within the Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem.
You actually have to be fucking stupid and shameless to think this is a good idea. It just sounds embarrassing.
I mean, again, it's just pretty harsh, right? Like, and it stems to me not from a actual understanding of the product, but from a sort of 1 minute headline sort of recap of the project. And it was actually based on not true information. That's the thing that I think is key here, is that what you see is you see a generation, like all of these content creators are informing their audience. And by the way, this video has like 1.5 million views. He has 12 million followers. And so you see a huge amount of people being informed by what appears to be an educated opinion opinion, but he actually, if even in the video, admits he doesn't really know much about it. This is kind of the telephone game happening with NFTs, is that you don't have a lot of like knowledgeable sources actually projecting information that is well researched. And you end up with this sort of like unbelievable lack of information at the end, which translates to a complete misunderstanding of like what the thing is.
Because this used to be nothing to Bored Apes. Bored Apes was a multi-billion-dollar business. So their big game here only doing 21 mil total.
Once again, he starts quoting the volume of the sewer passes and saying, this is nothing. Bored Apes used to be a big deal. Their new game only did 21 million in volume. That's a total L. Well, just checking in here, it actually did 52.2 thousand ETH in volume, which is here, according to CoinGecko right now, almost 90 million, $88.7 million in volume. And again, one of the funny things here is this isn't Bored Apes. This isn't the main ape thing. This isn't even other deeds, their MMORPG. This is just a new free thing that they gave out to the public, and the free thing that they gave to the apes in the midst of the worst bear market ever did almost $90 million in trading volume. Meanwhile, the floor for a Bored Ape is about 72.7 Ethereum. Let's just go ahead. 72.7. We have $123,000 is the cheapest Bored Ape that you can buy in the whole world. So again, $123,000. Obviously, that's down from 400 something thousand dollars that it was at back at the peak of its blow off top. I believe it was in April of last year. But again, something going down to $125,000 in volume that was originally sold for like $120 is still at 1,000x where they released the project. And that's not factoring in the free dog, the free mutant, the free other side, the free ape coin that they gave you, which way more than pays for the $120,000 throughout the lifetime. And fate does love irony, as despite the outrage from these pro video game YouTube channels, well, guess what? The game that Charlie's criticizing here, the first prize alone that a pro Fortnite player named Mongrel just won simply for playing the game for a few weeks, that number one prize was just bought for him today for $1.6 million or 1,000 Ethereum. That's right. You can see here, Mongrel on his official Twitter with 2 million followers has agreed to sell the key for 1,000 ETH to this CEO here of Upstate Shredding, this guy, Adam Weitzman. Again, when you have these game economies and people care about the game world it's in and believe, and there's a strong collector base, well, guess what? The time spent in that game is just far better spent than in another game where the players are effectively neo-serfs just living on the farmland that is entrenched in Web 2 gaming nobility, where effectively you have the game developers sitting on their thrones and all the people who actually give the game value are just peasants there living off the land. The thing about it is crypto gaming is inevitable and it'll be amazing for the players. And as a good example of this, let's take a look at this one stat before we move on. As you can see here, as Jake Lucky points out, just this week, Counter-Strike Global Offensive reached new peaks 10 years after release. And the big thing that people are pointing out here is that CSGO is one of the few games that actually allows you to sell back your skins within the game. There's a huge economy within CSGO, and even though they're not NFTs, people are able to sell back the items to the market that they earn in the game. This stickiness of actually having something tangible or being able to liquidate or monetize your time in game has, in my opinion, been one of the strongest aspects of CSGO. Obviously, it wouldn't work if CSGO wasn't an incredible game to begin with, but once you combine incredible gaming with the ability to own and resell items within the game, it creates a super loyal player base, and it's extremely good for the long-term health of the game economy. Again, who was hurt here? Who's the victim? Who's getting screwed as this pro gamer plays for 2 weeks and then an excited collector base wants to buy his number one prize because they want to own it? Who is the loser? There is none. A free game attracts viral attention, and the number one prize is then resold almost instantly for $1.6 million. This is a viral equation that is rapidly going to overtake the gaming space. There's no two ways about it. And the thing is, these gamers are going to be super happy when it does, because it's going to make their experience so much richer, both emotionally and financially. So again, is Bored Ape a failure? Of course not. And in fact, the more that you learn about Bored Apes, the more of a staggering success it's been. And that's the thing, is most people weighing in on NFTs haven't done the research. They don't really know what's going on. I don't fault them at all, because there's been so many high profile bad examples, but I'm so excited for the next few years when NFT projects not only grow and start to actually prove themselves with real utility, like in games, but platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube actually make them so native and make them in a way that creators can can really reward their fans for their attention and their time, I think the sky is the limit for NFTs. And we can see this as like the trough of disillusionment right now. We're seeing like the hangover from all of the inflated expectations. And from this point, I believe that the room to grow is significant. In the end, NFTs are just a token online, a token that you can own, which could be anything. It could be data, it could be an image, could be art, could be something in a video game, could be access to some product or whatever. The point is that NFTs are a blank canvas. And to say that, canvas is evil because a couple of people drew some naughty pictures, that's quite silly. To me, I actually get extremely excited when I see content creators like this just railing against NFTs, because I believe that this is the ultimate proving ground. This visceral hatred that they have for the bad NFTs will be flipped into this, oh, well, actually, I only hated that version of NFTs. Now that I've seen this good version of NFTs, I'm a fan of this. This benefits the users. This is popular and exciting. This is actually good. And so as much as I had this negative emotion, it's like a trampoline springboard for the good part of it. And those good versions of NFTs will be beloved. And the flip on the opinion from these content creators will be so dramatic. Remember the first guy who said he bet his testicles,
my left and right nut,
that he would never see NFTs on the platform. And that in the same sentence, he says, well, maybe we'll be doing it in a few months. That's the world we're living in. Don't get too caught up in these criticisms, because in the end, your biggest haters can be flipped into your biggest lovers with one solid, genuine hug. I believe that, and I literally can't wait to see this cultural flip on NFTs. It's coming, and oh baby, it is coming. Let me know if you enjoyed this reaction style video in the comments section below, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.